This week on ICN, the stories you should have heard but didn't. New data shows our economy in freefall. Obama inauguration blowout, and guess who's footing the bill? The New World Order and global government, a paranoid conspiracy or a real agenda of the elite? Henry Kissinger weighs in. Those stories and more next on Informed Citizen News. Hello, and welcome to ICN, Informed Citizen News, January 11th, 2009. Our lead story is, of course, the economy. A slew of economic data came out this week, and almost all of it was bad. Over the past 2 months, ICN has been presenting news reports on such items as the next wave of mortgage defaults, ineffective government, and Wall Street handouts, all of which point to the economic collapse continuing for at least the next few years. This week's economic data only emphasize the hard times America is facing. Unemployment claims in December rose to 7.2% according to the government. At this current rate of increase, Americans will be lucky if the unemployment number tops out at around 10% in 2010. The real unemployment number, called U6, which the government buries in their report, rose from 12.6 to 13.5%. Next on the list of bad economic news is that 44 states are expected to have budget shortfalls in 2009. That spells trouble for state spending programs and their employees. Consumer borrowing shrunk the most since records began to be tracked in 1945. Sadly, borrowing and spending is the fuel for our growth. When borrowing stops, so does our economy. Next on the hit parade is an update to a story we did in December on underfunded pensions, public and private. The original report stated that the largest 350 corporate pensions were going to be underfunded by $220 billion in 2008. This new report from the Washington Post expanded the analysis to the S&P 1500 companies. These are the largest 1,500 companies in the United States. They reported that the pensions were underfunded by over $400 billion. That resulted in the pensions being 75% underfunded, as this chart shows. So not only is Social Security's future in doubt, but our corporate pensions are looking to be in deep trouble as well. The scariest story of the week comes out from Germany. The German government held an auction for $6 billion in 10-year government bonds. The scary part was that investors only bought 2/3 of the total bonds offered for sale. Bond sales are how governments borrow money to fund the government. If investors don't buy the bonds, then the government must cut services or have the central bank create money. This is where the U.S. is headed. At some point in the future, foreign investors are going to stop buying U.S. bonds. When that happens, game over. The U.S. government will either have to cut services or have the Federal Reserve create money. American politicians will never admit failure by cutting services. They'll have the Federal Reserve print the money. There are those who doubt China or Japan, the two largest holders of U.S. government debt, would ever stop funding our government. Just think about the new Obama stimulus plan to rebuild roads and bridges across the country. China and Japan would be foolish to lend the U.S. money that would never be paid back. They would rather spend that money for their own infrastructure. The U.S. is living on borrowed time, and our prosperity is based on the grace of foreign lending. Guess who's funding the big Obama inauguration blowout party? It's us, the gullible taxpayer. It turns out that Wall Street executives are footing a large portion of the $50 million bill. That's right, the same companies that received tens of billions of dollars from the taxpayer in 2008. Now is not the time to throw a big party. The $50 million could fund unemployment benefits for 6 months for over 8,000 people. Remember, Obama ran on the theme of change. With this insensitivity and the army of Clinton retread appointments, just looks like more of the same. And Americans are sucking it up like a Hoover Deluxe. Merrill Lynch has revealed that some of their richest clients are so alarmed by the state of the financial system and signs of political instability around the world that they are now insisting on the purchase of gold bars, shunning derivatives or paper proxies like ETF gold funds. Gary Dugan, the chief investment officer for U.S. Bank, said that people are so worried they want a portable asset in their home, and that he never thought he would be getting calls from clients saying they want a box of Krugerrands, which are South African gold coins. It sure is a sign of the times when the rich are running to the safe haven of gold bars and coins.
The terms New World Order and global government have been linked to conspiracy theories for decades. Recently, the softer term global governance has been thrown around in the press. These terms have always been associated with a secret agenda. This now appears to be the worst-kept secret. Last week, we brought you the story of Mikhail Gorbachev calling for global governance in an op-ed piece. Well, this week gets even better. Henry Kissinger on CNBC boldly recommends that Obama put the formulation of a new world order at the top of his agenda. Listen for yourself.
But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think its task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. There isn't such a crisis.
Are you confident about the people President-elect Obama has chosen to surround him, because he does not have a great deal of experience?
No, he has appointed an extraordinarily able group of people in both the international and financial field.
Mr. Secretary, we thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Appreciate it.
Whether you call it New World Order, global government, or global governance, one must conclude that it's not a conspiracy, as the word conspiracy implies that it's a secret plan. Elite individuals like Gorbachev, Kissinger, and other leaders of the world are making calls in op-eds, interviews, and public speeches for a new global government. The viewer needs to not only understand, but also decide which side of the fence you're on as the world moves toward, as Kissinger says, a new world order.
Homeschooling is on the rise, reports USA Today. The number of children being taught at home is up 74% since 1999. Top reasons cited by parents in a survey conducted in 2007 were concerns about the school environment, including safety, drugs, and peer pressure, the desire to provide religious or moral instruction, and a dissatisfaction with instruction at other schools. The report also quoted an expert that said the estimates are low because homeschooling parents are significantly less likely to answer government-sponsored surveys. Up through high school, a child will spend over 15,000 hours in class. It's no wonder that given the current low quality of public education, parents are choosing more and more to educate their children at home. There have even been organized movements, especially among Christians, to remove children from public schools. The Call to Dunkirk is one such movement, and they have a YouTube video if you're interested in the subject. Well, that wraps it up for this week. Thank you for joining ICN. Americans need to be informed, so please send our link to your family and friends. From all of us at Informed Citizen News, have a great week.